No stupid child of mine lives here. That was my mother, Christmas Eve. I was 16. She just slapped me for refusing to hand my little brother the $200 I'd earned working weddings all summer, money I'd saved for a used camera lens. She wanted me to give it up so he could buy an Xbox. I wouldn't. She opened the front door and pointed at the snow. My father stood in the kitchen doorway. He said nothing. My 12-year-old brother didn't look up from his game. The deadbolt slid before I reached the sidewalk. What my mother didn't know that night was that folded in my coat pocket was a birthday card she'd told my father to throw away, and a phone number written by hand on the inside. If you've ever felt like the family scapegoat, take a second to hit like and subscribe. It helps this channel more than you know. Drop your city and the time you're listening in the comments. I love reading them. I'm Callie. I'm 26 now. This is the story of what happened after that door closed and what I brought back to it 10 Christmases later. 10 years later, Athens, Ohio. A studio on Court Street, 1 block up from Ellen's chair. December 19th, 2025. Late afternoon. Gray winter light through the front window. I'm at my editing desk choosing proofs for a New Year's Eve wedding client. Nathan is at the far wall, wrestling with the fake tree we use for holiday portraits. Lily is on the rug with a purple crayon, drawing what she calls the wedding tree, a Christmas tree with brides underneath. She hums. She always hums. My phone buzzes. Ellen. I put it on speaker. I picked it up, she says. Her voice is careful. Cover looks nice, real leather. I thought it would look cheap in the sample. It doesn't. I glance at Nathan. He glances back. Neither of us says anything. Sweetheart, Ellen says, you sure you want to do this? I take the phone off speaker. I press it to my ear. I'm sure. You can come get it. Put it on the shelf. That's an option too. I know. There is a long quiet. On the other end, I can hear the little bell above her salon door, someone coming in. The same bell I heard the first morning I woke up in her apartment. All right, Ellen says. When do you want to leave? 9, Christmas Eve morning. Nathan will bring Lily up separately. Okay, Callie. I hang up. Nathan is watching me. He does not ask. He never asks. That was 2 months after Lily asked her question. It was a Tuesday. She had a piece of paper, purple crayon again. She held it up. Mommy, my family tree is missing a grandma. Why don't I have a grandma? Ellie has 2. She didn't cry when she asked. She wasn't sad. She was 5 years old, almost 6, and she was doing math. And one of the numbers was wrong, and she wanted to know why. I remember I was standing at the sink. The water was still running. I turned it off. I sat down at the table with her. I told her that her grandma was alive. I told her that her grandma didn't know her yet. I told her I didn't know if her grandma would ever want to know her. And that was okay. Lily thought about that. Well, she said, she's missing a lot. Then she asked if she could color Ellen's hair green in the picture. Because Grandma Nell said last Christmas she wanted green hair someday. I said yes. She colored the hair green. That's the thing about 6-year-olds. They put the wound back together in a sentence and go on with their day. And you sit there at the kitchen table, holding a piece of construction paper, and you realize there is a version of your daughter's life you have been protecting her from, and a version of your daughter's life you are stealing from her. And they might be the same thing. For 3 weeks, I did nothing. I let Lily's question sit with me. Nathan finished the tree while I was on the phone with Ellen. He plugged in the lights. Lily clapped. He picked her up and let her put the star on top the way he does every year. "You driving up alone?" he asked, after Lily ran to the bathroom. "Ellen's coming. I want you and Lily to stay in Athens until noon, then drive up. Park at the end of the block. I do not want Lily on that porch." Okay, that's all he said. To understand why one small photo album could break a family down to the porch floor, I have to take you back 12 years. Before I was born, knowing what a slap sounds like. I was 4 the year my mother stopped speaking to her sister. Her sister was Ellen. Ellen was 22. Ellen wore denim jackets and lipstick that was too dark for her face. She carried lollipops in her coat pocket. She was in cosmetology school 2 towns over. She would come by the house on Wednesdays and pick me up and drive me to the park and push me on the swing and buy me hot chocolate at the concession stand, even though it was $5 and tasted like brown water. She would tell me I was going to be beautiful someday. Not pretty, beautiful. The way she said it made it sound like it was already decided by law. My mother did not like this. My mother was 30. My mother had a 2-month-old at home. My brother, Kyle. My mother had gained weight she couldn't lose. My father was working double shifts at the warehouse. My mother had begun pouring wine at 5 in the afternoon. By 6, she was quiet. By 7, she was mean. Ellen made her meaner. I didn't know that at 4. I just knew that when Ellen came, I got to leave. And when Ellen left, my mother would tell my father that Ellen was the kind of woman who thought she was better than everyone. And my father would say nothing, because that's what my father did. That's the first thing you should understand about my father. He didn't hit me. He didn't call me stupid. He also didn't stop the person who did. He stood in doorways. He said nothing. That was his whole language, my whole life. Thanksgiving 2003. Ellen brought a casserole and a secret. She was 6 weeks pregnant. The father was a boy who had told her he loved her and then moved to Colorado. He had left before Ellen could say the word baby. Ellen was 22, terrified, and she came to Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving was where you told your family things. She thought her mother, my grandmother, would understand. She thought her sister might soften. She thought, wrong. I was 4. I was in a red velvet dress with a stain on the front from where Kyle had spit up on me an hour before. I remember Ellen standing in the living room, hands folded in front of her stomach. I remember my mother's voice cutting through the kitchen with a knife that had no handle. "You will not embarrass this family." Ellen said something quiet. My mother said, "Get out." Denise, now. Out my house, out my yard. And don't come back. I will not have that shame in my kitchen. My grandmother didn't stand up. My father didn't stand up. I stood up. Only I was too short to be seen. Ellen walked out. She had the casserole in one hand and her purse in the other. She stopped at the door. She looked back once. She looked at me. She smiled at me. It was the kind of smile you use when you don't want a child to be scared. Then she was gone. My mother locked the door. My father sat back down. My grandmother reached for the mashed potatoes. I was told all through my childhood that Ellen had chosen to leave. For the next 12 years, I got a birthday card. They came in September, never with a return address, never with a printed name. My mother knew who they were from. She would open them at the mailbox before I got home from school, and then she would drop them in the trash on top of the coffee grounds. By dinner, she would be pouring her second glass. By 8, I would be told again that my aunt had abandoned the family. Most of the cards I never saw. The year I was 12, my mother told my father to throw one away. He took the mail in, tossed it in the kitchen wastebasket right on top, and walked away. I saw the envelope. I waited until they were both in the living room. I moved the empty milk carton off the top. I fished the card out. There was a handprint of glitter on the front. Inside, in her looping script, she'd written, "Sweetheart, this is my number. Anytime, anything. Aunt Ellen." I copied the number onto the inside cover of the card. I hid the card behind the loose baseboard in my closet. I never called it. Kyle was born and Kyle was God. Kyle got the Xbox 360 when I was 14. Kyle got the PlayStation 4 when I was 16. I asked once for a used Canon Rebel. I got a lecture about being ungrateful, so the summer I turned 16, I found a wedding photographer named Marla, who paid teenagers $80 a Saturday to hold reflectors and change SD cards. By December, I had $200 saved. I needed $340 for the lens. December 20th, 2015, 4 days before Christmas Eve. Kyle came home from the mall. "I want an Xbox One for Christmas," he said. My mother said we couldn't afford one. Kyle said, "Callie has 200. My mother turned. She looked at me over the rim of the wine glass. "That's your Christmas gift to your brother. That's for my lens." My mother's eyes narrowed for the first time that week, not for the last. She took a slow sip. She said, in the voice she used at PTA meetings, "We'll talk about this later." Then she turned back to the sink. I went to my room. I put the $200 in a zippered pouch inside a rolled-up sock. I put the sock inside a boot. I put the boot in the back of the closet. I put the birthday card with the phone number in the inside pocket of my winter coat. I thought I had won. Christmas Eve, 6:30 p.m. My mother called me down to the kitchen. She was at the counter. She had a fresh glass. The bottle was almost empty. Kyle was on the couch playing his old PS3, headphones half on, the light of the screen making his face look green. My father was at the sliding door, drying a plate with a dish towel he had already dried 3 times. He would not look up. "I want the money," my mother said. "No. Give me the money, Callie." "No, Mom, it is mine." She set the wine glass on the counter, very carefully, like it might break if she moved too fast, like she'd resent the counter for that. Then she crossed the linoleum in 2 steps, and she slapped me across the mouth. I tasted copper. I did not cry. I do not know why I didn't cry. I remember thinking very clearly that my father had heard the sound, and that he had not turned, and that the sound had come and gone in a house that had made a decision about me a long time before I stood in that kitchen. My mother's voice, when it came, was almost bored. "Get out, Denise," my father said from the sliding door. Not loud, not to stop her, just to note it. She didn't look at him. She looked at me. No stupid child of mine lives here. Get out. Now. Tonight. Kyle glanced up from the couch. He looked at me the way you look at a car that has just crashed on your street. Not sad. Not amused. Just interested? Then he put the headphones fully on. I went upstairs. I got my coat. 6:46 p.m. I remember the time because I looked at the microwave on my way past. My mother had gone back to the wine. My father had gone back to the plate. I put the coat on. The boot with the sock with the money was over my shoulder in a Walmart bag. I had a spare pair of jeans, a hoodie, a toothbrush, and the camera Ellen had never known about. In the inside pocket, folded and warm from being held, was the birthday card. I opened the front door. The porch light was on. The Christmas lights were nailed to the eaves. Snow was starting up over the grass, thin and slow. I stepped onto the porch. The deadbolt slid behind me. I heard the chain go too. Not one lock. Both. I did not turn around. I did not knock. I walked down the porch steps and across the yard and out through the gap in the hedge onto Broadridge Road. And I walked. I walked 1 mile, and then I walked 4/10 of a mile more to the Marathon station at the corner of Route 82. It was 12 degrees. There was a man at the pump with his hood up. There was a cashier inside named Doug, who let me sit at the little plastic table by the coffee. He asked me if I needed to call somebody. I said yes. He gave me the phone behind the counter. I did not call the police. I did not call a friend from school. I did not know who to call at school. The people at school did not know me the way you have to know somebody to be the person they call. I called Aunt Ellen. The phone rang 3 times. She was asleep. Her voice was blurry. Hello? Aunt Ellen, this is Callie. There was a pause, a big pause. Callie, Mom just threw me out. I'm at the marathon on Route 82 in Parma. It's snowing. I have $200 and a camera. Another pause. Not confusion, not surprise. She had been waiting for this call for 12 years. She was just checking that it was real. Stay right there, she said. Don't go anywhere. Sit down, get something warm. I'm putting my shoes on right now. I'm coming as fast as this weather lets me. Okay, sweetheart? Yeah. I love you. I've always loved you. I'm coming. I sat down at the plastic table, and I put my face in my hands, and only then I cried. If someone your family cut off ever showed up when your family threw you out, drop a heart in the comments below. I read every single one. If you have a story like that, I want to know. Ellen got to the marathon at 1:22 in the morning on Christmas Day. She came through the door in a puffer coat and a scarf and pajama pants. Her hair was still flat from the pillow. She walked past Doug the cashier without looking at him. She walked straight to the plastic table. She sat down across from me. She held my hands across the tabletop. She did not say anything for a long time. Then she said, "Do you have to go back for anything?" "No." "Nothing." "No." She stood up. She thanked Doug. She tipped him $50. He looked at her like she had said his name in a language he didn't speak. He took the money. He said, "Merry Christmas, ma'am," We got in her Corolla. She turned the heat up all the way. She reached across me and buckled my seatbelt because my hands were shaking. She said, "You sleep. I'll drive." I slept. I woke up in a small apartment above a hair salon on Court Street in Athens, Ohio. There was a little fake Christmas tree by the window. On the coffee table, on a red plate, there was a mound of scrambled eggs and 2 pieces of buttered toast, still warm. There was a sticky note on the plate that said, "Eat this. I'm downstairs. Come get me if you're scared." I ate. I did not go get her. I ate the whole plate, and I drank the orange juice, and I looked at that little tree with its cheap tinsel, and I understood for the first time in my life that Christmas could be a room somebody made for you on purpose. 3 weeks later, in January, Ellen and I drove to the Athens County Courthouse. She was wearing lipstick and her Sunday coat, and she was scared. I could tell she was scared because she had stopped talking 2 blocks before we parked. The judge was a woman named Judge Fleming. She had reading glasses on a beaded chain. She looked at Ellen's paperwork, and she looked at me, and she looked at Ellen again. "Miss Callender," she said to Ellen, "have Callie's parents contested this?" "No, Your Honor," Ellen said. "I called them the day after Christmas. Her mother hung up. I called back. Her father answered. I asked if they wanted to know she was safe. He said, quote, 'Do whatever you're going to do.' That was 3 weeks ago. There has been no contact." Judge Fleming closed the folder. She said, "Temporary guardianship granted. Review in 12 months. She signed. It took, from door to door, about 12 minutes. Ellen took me to a diner afterward. She ordered me pancakes. She said, "Sweetheart, do you want to talk about anything?" I said no. She said, "Okay, when you do, I am here. When you don't, I am also here." That was the first Ellen rule. There would be more of them. Ellen's rules were not don't lie and don't drink and be home by 10. Ellen's rules were you are not required to be grateful. You are not required to be over it. You are not required to say hello to anyone whose voice you can't hear without your throat closing. And on birthdays, you eat cake first, then dinner, then more cake. I stopped waking up in the middle of the night by April. There was one February evening. I remember it because it was raining. Ellen was at her sewing machine by the window, hemming a curtain for a client. Her back was to me. Her shoulders were shaking. I thought she was cold. I put my book down. "Aunt Ellen, are you okay?" She wiped her face on her sleeve without turning around. "Yes, sweetheart." "You're crying." She was quiet. Then she said, "Come sit." I sat next to her on the little bench. "I have only told one person before you," she said. "A friend who stood with me at the grave." She kept her hands on the fabric. In May of 2004, I had a baby boy. I named him Micah. He was born too early. His lungs weren't ready. He lived 3 days. Then he died. The funeral home arranged a graveside burial in Wayne County. I stood there with the director, and nobody who loved him stood beside me. She was still not looking at me. "Your mother thinks I ran off to live my scandal on my own. Your mother thinks I got what I deserved. She doesn't know Micah existed. Nobody in our family does. I never told them. I didn't want them to say, well, of course. And I didn't want anyone to be sorry to me. Because if she was ever sorry to me, it would have to be after Micah was already dead. And that is not something I could take. She turned then. She looked at me full on. Her eyes were red. You are the only person in this family, she said, who ever knew he existed. I am telling you tonight because you deserve to know who I actually am. I graduated from Athens High School in June 2016. Ellen framed the diploma. She hung it above the shampoo bowls at the salon, next to a picture of Dolly Parton and a picture of a golden retriever she'd never owned. She told every client who sat down that her niece was going to be famous, not successful, famous. She was always dramatic about my life. It was medicine. That summer, she found me a used 70 to 200 lens at a camera store in Cincinnati. She drove 3 hours to pick it up. She paid $210 for it, cash. She would not let me pay her back. Sweetheart, she said, this lens is going to make you money. You give it back to me in the pictures. The first picture I took with it, I still have. Ellen at the shampoo bowl. Late afternoon light coming through the front window of the salon. She's leaning back, tipping a 4th grader named Marissa's head into the water. Ellen isn't smiling. She is just concentrating. That kind of concentration that only shows up on people who have decided they're going to do something well, because it is the only thing they know how to give. I taped that picture above my desk in the apartment. It is still on my desk now at the studio. That fall, I enrolled at Hawking College for the photography certificate. 2-year program. Ellen drove me twice a week the first semester until I could take myself. I made a friend named Jenna. Jenna's grandmother had raised her too, and we did not talk about it, and that was the first friendship I ever had where I did not have to explain. Every Christmas, 2016, 17, 18, I wrote a card. I put both my parents' names on the envelope. I never wrote a return address. I never bought a stamp. I put the cards in a wooden box under my bed. Summer 2017. I shot my first paying wedding. Small ceremony, backyard, 31 guests. The bride was the daughter of one of Ellen's oldest clients. $600. I bought a tripod. I bought a memory card. I bought Ellen a pair of earrings from the antique store on State Street. She put them on and cried. And then she made me take a picture of her wearing them. That fall, one of my wedding shots went semi-viral in the way things did before the algorithm turned mean. It was a photo of the bride's grandmother laughing so hard she had to sit down on the church steps, and the way the light caught her open mouth, and the way her granddaughter, in a wedding dress, was laughing right along with her. That picture made it back to Parma. I know this because 6 days later, my mother blocked me on Facebook. Not messaged, not commented, just blocked. Ellen and I watched it happen. The little friend request pending that had been sitting on Ellen's page for years just quietly disappeared. Ellen made pasta that night and said, well, she saw. I remember thinking, she saw and she said nothing. She saw the picture of another grandmother laughing, and she said nothing. And that told me something about her that took a while to understand, but eventually cost her everything. I graduated Hawking in May 2018. I shot 8 weddings that summer. Ellen built me a Squarespace site over 3 weekends, drinking iced coffee and swearing at the drag and drop editor. She named it Cali Photography Athens, Ohio, because, she said, your name should say where you're from, and you're from here. I bookmarked the site. I looked at it every night for 2 weeks. I felt a thing I did not have a word for. Later, I would learn the word. It is home. Nathan Vance was building an arbor at a barn wedding I was shooting in October 2018. Old wood beams, brass hinges. He was up on a ladder in a canvas jacket, and he was measuring a corner 3 times. The bride's mother pointed at him and said, "That boy is a keeper, he just doesn't know it yet." I did not know what she meant. She was a bride's mother. Bride's mothers say a lot of things. He came down off the ladder when I asked him to hold a reflector because my tripod had died. He held the reflector at exactly the angle I asked. He did not try to angle it his own way. He did not ask me if I was sure, he just held it. That was, in retrospect, my first sign. He asked me for coffee. I said yes. 6 weeks later, he asked me if he could take me to his family workshop. I said yes. He introduced me to his father, his uncle, and a very old Great Dane named Gordy. Gordy put his head in my lap for 42 minutes. I brought Nathan to meet Ellen at Thanksgiving 2018. Ellen made him a plate. She let him get comfortable. Then she leaned across the table and she said, calm as a Sunday, "Nathan, have you ever screamed at somebody?" Nathan blinked. "Ma'am, have you ever raised your voice at someone in a bad way, on purpose, to make them small?" Nathan thought about it. Then he said, "No, ma'am, I don't think so." "Have you ever wanted to?" "Not so far, ma'am." Ellen sat back. "Good, eat pie." He proposed to me on Christmas Eve, 2018, in front of the little apartment tree. He kept his voice low so Ellen wouldn't overhear from downstairs. He did not have to. She was standing at the bottom of the stairs the whole time. We got married in Ellen's backyard on June 8th, 2019. 22 guests. My father-in-law barbecued. Jenna made a chocolate cake in her mother's kitchen. There was a folding chair for Ellen at the end of the aisle where a father would sit, and Ellen did not sit in it. She walked me. She wore a long green dress. I had never seen her wear a dress. She looked like she had been rehearsing the walk her whole life, which she had. I wore a plain white dress from a consignment shop in Columbus. Nathan wore a gray suit that his uncle had lent him. The flowers were wild flowers Nathan had picked at 4 a.m. Ellen took my arm at the edge of the yard. She said, very quietly, so only I would hear, "Micah would have turned 15 last month." I said, "I know." She held my arm tighter and then we walked. Halfway to the arbor, Ellen leaned in again. "You look so much like the mother he would have grown up to have." I could not answer. I could only walk. Nathan cried. He cried the whole ceremony. When we said the vows, he had to start us over because he lost the first line to his throat closing up. The pastor, Ellen had found a woman who did outdoor ceremonies for people who did not go to church, smiled at him and gave him a second. At the reception, Ellen danced. Ellen danced with Nathan. Ellen danced with Nathan's father. Ellen danced with the golden retriever from 2 houses over who wandered in through the back gate. She did not stop dancing until it was full dark. I stood on the porch with a paper plate of cake, and I could not stop watching her. Lily was born on November 11th, 2019, at 4:22 a.m. at Oblaness Memorial Hospital in Athens, Ohio. She was 7 pounds, 1 ounce. She was very red. She had one dimple on the left. She was small enough to fit lengthwise on my forearm. Nathan was there for 32 hours straight. He would not sit down. He kept touching her feet. He kept saying softly, "Hello, hello, hello." Ellen was in the waiting room. When they told her she could come in, she walked in like she had been walking in that door her whole life. She held her arms out. I put Lily in her arms. Ellen closed her eyes. She said, "Micah has a niece." She held Lily for almost an hour. Nobody asked for her back. That night, back in the hospital room, when Nathan and Lily and Ellen were all asleep and I was alone in the vinyl chair, I opened my phone. I opened my contacts. I scrolled to Mom, and I stared at the number. I did not call. Ellen, though, wrote a letter that week. She wrote it in her looping script on the salon stationery. She wrote, "Denise, my sister, you are a grandmother. Her name is Lily. She was born the 11th of November. She has your father's chin." She addressed the envelope. She put a stamp on it. She kept it on the counter for 3 days. On the 4th day, she took it out to the backyard fire pit, and she watched it burn without saying anything. I asked her later why she burned it. She said, "Because a letter is a hand, and I don't put my hand where it is going to get bitten. Not anymore." The studio came in 2021. Nathan and I converted a bakery storefront on Court Street, 4 blocks up from Ellen's salon. Exposed brick, a big north-facing window. We named it Callie and Nathan's studio because Nathan was, quote, here for the branding meeting even though he did not want to be. I hung the picture of Ellen at the shampoo bowl above the desk. I hung one of Nathan holding baby Lily above the couch. Over the next few years, we booked enough weddings to keep the studio open, pay off the car, and move into a small ranch house 2 miles up the road. Lily's bedroom had glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling that Nathan spent an entire Saturday sticking on. Ellen was at every birthday. She was at every school event that let a grandmother figure attend. She was at the Halloween parade in Lily's kindergarten, dressed as a witch. She was Grandma Nell to everybody who counted. Lily was 3 when she first started calling Ellen Grandma Nell without anyone teaching her to. Ellen pretended not to hear it the first time. Then she went into the bathroom and cried with the faucet running. After that, she answered every time. Nobody in our house said Parma. Nobody said Grandma and meant Denise. My father's name did not come up. Kyle's name did not come up. It was as if the road north of Athens simply ended at Columbus. In late March of 2024, Ellen came to dinner with a small bandage high on her chest beneath her blouse. She said she had had a biopsy that morning and would hear more on Monday. She said, "It is probably nothing." It was not nothing. She was diagnosed in April 2024 with stage 2 invasive breast cancer in her left breast. She had a lumpectomy in the second week of May. The margins were clear, but the oncologist recommended chemotherapy. Chemotherapy, then follow-up treatment and recovery after an infection, carried her through December. I closed the studio for 2 months. Nathan took over Lily's school run. I sat in the chemo chair with Ellen every 3 weeks. I brought her ginger candies. I brought her a knit cap I'd bought at the thrift store in Nelsonville because she liked the color, a deep rose. When her hair started coming out in mid-July, I sat with her in the salon after hours, and I helped her shave the rest of it herself. She sat in her own chair. She cried. Then she looked at herself in the mirror, and she laughed. "God," she said, "I look like a very small basketball." She wore that rose-knit cap through August. She wore a scarf through September. In October, she said she was tired of scarves, and she walked around Athens with her bare head like it was a flag she had just planted. There was one bad night after her 4th round of chemo. She spiked to 104. Nathan drove us to the ER at 2 in the morning. I sat in the plastic chair by her bed, and I watched her sleep, and I did the math on how much life I had left with her if this went the wrong way. The infection cleared by morning. She finished treatment in December of that year. The oncologist said clean scan in September of the next year. I cried in the parking lot outside her oncology clinic for 12 minutes straight. The following month, October 2025, I was at the kitchen table with Lily. She was in kindergarten. She had a family tree assignment. It was a Tuesday. She had a purple crayon. She held up the paper. "Mommy, my family tree is missing a grandma. Why don't I have a grandma? Ellie has 2. Miles has 3 because his grandpa remarried." I turned the water off at the sink. "Well, sweetheart," I said, and my voice was doing that thing where it comes out level even when the rest of you is not. "Your grandma is alive. Your grandpa is alive. They live near Cleveland. They just don't know you yet. They didn't know Daddy when we got married. They did not know Grandma Nell when she was little either." Lily looked at me. She did not look sad. She looked at the paper. "Did they say why?" "They didn't say anything, sweetheart. That's what happened." Lily thought about it. She put a period on the end of the branch where the grandma name was supposed to go. Then she looked up. "Well," she said, "that is very silly." Then she asked me if she could color Grandma Nell's hair green. I said yes. That night I put Lily to bed. I read her 2 books instead of 1. I sat beside her for a while after she fell asleep. For 3 weeks, I did nothing. I let her question sit with me. Then, in November, I called Ellen. I said, I want to go up there once on Christmas Eve. Not to make peace, not to ask them to be grandparents. Just to close the door with my own hand this time, and to let her hear it close. Ellen was quiet a long time. "Sweetheart," she said, "that is a lot to walk toward." "I know. Do you want me with you?" "Yes." "Then I am with you." The next day, I ordered the album. 12 photographs. Real leather cover. I sent the file to a printer in Columbus. When it came back 3 weeks later, I did not look inside. I would look inside once, and I decided that once would be on the porch. That was the plan. Christmas Eve morning, 2025, Athens, 8 a.m. I was awake before the alarm. Nathan brought me coffee in a travel mug. Lily was still asleep, curled into a lump on her striped sheets. We sat in the kitchen. He did not ask me if I was ready. He asked me if my phone was charged. At 9, I met Ellen at the salon. She had a duffel bag and the rental SUV, a black Ford Explorer she had picked up the night before, because her Corolla was in the shop for a leak. She was wearing a long charcoal coat. She had a scarf. She had lipstick on. She had, I noticed, put a small pin on her lapel. A silver charm shaped like a photograph. The album was in a leather sleeve on the passenger seat. Ellen had picked it up the day before and had not looked in it because I had asked her not to. I opened the sleeve. I looked at the 12 photographs. One time, photo 1, me at 17, holding my Athens high school diploma. Ellen next to me in her Sunday coat. Photo 2, me at 18, shooting my first wedding back to camera, arms out. Photo 3, my Hawking College certificate framed on the salon wall. Photo 4, Nathan's first Thanksgiving with Ellen, all 3 of us at her kitchen table. Photo 5, our wedding. Ellen walking me toward the arbor. Photo 6, newborn Lily, sleeping in Ellen's arms in the hospital room. Photo 7, the studio, day we opened. Photo 8, Lily at 2, dressed as a witch, holding Ellen's hand. Photo 9, Ellen after round 4, rose-knit cap, laughing. Photo 10, Ellen outside her oncology clinic, September 25th, clean scan letter in her lap. Photo 11, Lily's crayon family tree, with green hair on the grandmother branch. Photo 12, the 4 of us. Thanksgiving 2025. In front of Ellen's dining room window, behind photo 12, a blank page, deliberately blank. I closed the sleeve. The drive is 230 miles. It is mostly Route 33 north, then I-77 north, then a stretch of local roads through Parma. It should have taken a little over 4 hours. Snow and a wreck north of Canton turned it into nearly 8. Ellen drove the whole thing. She would not let me drive. She said, "Your job today is to sit and be a person. My job today is to steer." Around mile 60, somewhere north of Lancaster, I said, "I never told you what she did to my wrist." Ellen said, "Okay." She grabbed me. That last night, when I said no, she grabbed my wrist and she dug her nails in. I have a little scar on the inside. 2 little half moons. Whenever I have a client who wants a ring shot and I am holding my own left hand up in the light to angle it, I see them. I never told anyone, not even Nathan. I don't know why I'm telling you now. Ellen kept her hands on the wheel. She said, "Because you are about to knock on a door that made those marks, and you don't want to walk up there carrying them alone." She did not look at me. She just reached across and put her right hand on my left wrist, on top of the coat sleeve. And she left it there for a mile. Around mile 140, I fell asleep. Not really asleep. That gray sleep of highways. Around mile 210, I woke up. We were in the Parma exit ramp. Snow was falling harder. The Christmas lights on all the houses were on, even in the afternoon, because the sky was so gray. Ellen said, "Sweetheart, it is 5:25. You want to go straight there or you want to sit?" I said, "Let's sit." We parked at a Wendy's on Ridgewood. We each got a coffee. I drank half of mine. I could not have told you what it tasted like. Ellen drank all of hers. She refolded her scarf twice. She said at one point, "You know the story where you come to a village and the doors don't open? This is not that story. Whatever happens tonight, we know how to leave. We are very good at leaving." I laughed. It came out surprised. It came out real. Ellen laughed too. At 6:15, we drove 3 blocks over to Broadridge Road, my old street. It had the same streetlights, the same short driveways, the same too-close houses. The Petersons' porch, 3 down from my parents', had a light-up Santa I remembered from being 10. The Santa was still in the same corner. Someone had replaced his hand at some point. The new hand was clearly wrong. Ellen parked directly across the street from my parents' house. She left the engine on. She left the headlights off. "I am going to sit right here," she said, "until you look back." I opened the door. The cold hit my face. I stepped out. I walked around the front of the SUV. I crossed the street. I walked up my parents' front walk. Their porch light was on. Their Christmas lights were on the eaves. The same string my father had put up when I was 11, missing one bulb near the corner. Missing the same bulb. I stood on the porch. I looked at my watch. It was 6:43 p.m., 3 minutes to go. I looked down at my hand. I was holding the album in a leather sleeve. My grip was steady. Interesting. I lifted my hand. I knocked 3 times. I did not knock hard. I knocked the way you knock on a door you have decided you will never knock on again. For a moment there was nothing. Then a voice from inside, my mother's voice, 10 years older, but the same edge. "Rob, get the door." Footsteps that were not my father's. Kyle's. Kyle, now 22 years old. The door opened 4 inches. Kyle, taller. Softer around the face. Hoodie. Same annoyance. "Yeah?" I said. "Merry Christmas, Kyle." He looked at me. His face did the math it needed to do. It got there. It landed. "Callie?" "Yes." "What are you—" He did not finish the sentence. He turned back into the house without closing the door. He shouted, "Mom, it is Callie." There was a silence that felt like a page turning. Then footsteps, my mother's footsteps. They were slower than they used to be. The door opened all the way. She was 52. She had gray at her temples. She had a wine glass in her right hand, 3 fingers full. She was wearing a red sweater and pearl earrings and a look I recognized from 20 years of Sundays. The look you put on when you don't yet know who is standing on the other side of the door, but you have decided to be superior to them. She saw my face. The look started to slip. I lifted the album. I said, "Merry Christmas, Mom. I brought you something." My mother's hand came out. It came out on autopilot, on reflex. She has taken a lot of gifts in her life, and she has never once wondered whether she deserved them. I let her take it. I let go. The leather sleeve settled into her hand. She looked down at it. She said, "You look—" And then she stopped, because none of the words she had ready were going to work. My father appeared behind her. My father was 55 now, stooped in the shoulders in a way he had not been at 45, bags under his eyes, a drying towel in his hand, out of habit, the same posture he was in 10 years ago when he watched me leave. He blinked at me. His mouth opened. He said my name. He said it like it was a word he had almost forgotten. I did not say his name back. My mother's hand was already opening the leather sleeve. She was not listening to my father. She never has. She flipped the cover. Photo 1. Me at 17, holding my Athens high school diploma. Ellen next to me. Sunday coat. Ellen leaning her head against mine. My mother's face did not move, but her voice went thin. That is Ellen. I said nothing. She turned the page. Photo 2, me at 18, at the barn wedding. Arms out. You did. You took pictures, she said. She was not asking. She was doing that thing she does where she rearranges the room to make it hers again. You took pictures. Well, I always said you had an eye. I said that. Rob, didn't I say that? My father did not answer. He was looking at me. His face was gray. She turned the page. Photo 3, certificate photo 4. Nathan at Thanksgiving, laughing at something Ellen has just said. My mother stared at that photograph for a long time. Who is that? That is my husband. Her mouth opened, closed, opened. I did not help her. She turned the page. Photo 5. Our wedding. The arbor, the green dress. Ellen walking me. Ellen's chin lifted. My smile like a lantern. My mother made a sound. A small one. It was the sound you make when your bare foot lands on something sharp. She walked you. Yes. Callie, you got married. A breath. You got married, and you did not tell me. She looked up from the album. Her eyes were doing that thing they do when she is about to make it about herself. I have watched her do it my whole life. I did not let her get there. I nodded at the album. She turned the page. Photo 6. Newborn Lily, sleeping in Ellen's arms. Ellen's eyes closed. Ellen's mouth in a shape that was almost a smile and almost not. My mother's hand stopped mid-turn. Her voice, when it came, was almost a whisper. Whose baby? I said. Mine. Her name is Lily. She was born the 11th of November, 2019. She is 6 years old. She is asleep in a car at the end of the block. My mother's jaw dropped. Not literary. Actual. A 1/4 inch. Her mouth opened and stayed open. She had forgotten to close it. She turned the page. Photo 7. Studio. Photo 8. Lily as a witch, holding Ellen's hand. She turned the page. Photo 9. Ellen, bald. Rose cap, laughing. My mother's face changed. In a bad way. Is Ellen? Ellen had cancer. Ellen is fine now. You did not. Nobody told me. I said. That is right. Nobody told you. She turned the page. Photo 10. Ellen outside her oncology clinic. Clean scan letter. Photo 11. Lily's crayon family tree, with the missing grandmother branch, and the green-haired Grandma Nell branch. Photo 12. The 4 of us. Nathan, Lily, me, Ellen, our tree. She stared at photo 12 for a long time. Her whole hand was shaking now. The wine glass in her right hand was tipping. I did not tell her. She turned the last page. The blank one. The wine tipped. Slowly at first. Then all at once. A dark wet stain spread across the empty white paper. Seeped through, dripped onto the porch floor. The glass slid out of her fingers. It hit the wood of the porch. It shattered. She did not look down. She looked at me. Kyle, behind her, said, "Wait. Callie. Wait. You have a kid?" I did not look at Kyle. There were footsteps behind me. On the wood of my parents' porch steps. Slow. Deliberate. My mother's eyes went up over my shoulder. They opened. Not a little. all the way, wide as a child's. Ellen was on the porch behind me. Ellen stepped forward once, quietly, so that she was standing just at my shoulder. She did not speak. She did not need to. My mother's mouth started to move. No sound came out. She looked from Ellen to me, to the album, to Ellen again. "You brought her here," she whispered. Kyle said from behind her, "Wait, Aunt Ellen is alive?" I said, "Yes, Kyle. Aunt Ellen has been alive the entire time. Aunt Ellen has been raising your sister since the night Mom put me on the porch. Aunt Ellen has been my mother in every way that counts. She is not gone. She has never been gone. Mom just told you she was." Kyle blinked. Kyle blinked again. My father, behind them, made a sound. A short one. It might have been "oh." It might have been "no." He turned his face away. My mother tried once. Callie, sweetheart, please, please come inside. Please, it is Christmas. Come inside. We can talk. We can talk. We can start over. I did not answer her. I closed the album gently so as not to spread the wine any further, and I set it on the porch railing. I said, "This is for you to keep. There are 10 years in there you were not part of. There is a blank page at the end. You will not be part of the next one either." I turned. I stepped down off the porch. Ellen turned with me. We walked side by side down my parents' front walk, past the string of lights with the missing bulb, past the mailbox where my birthday cards had spent a decade in the trash. If you are listening to this tonight, and there is a door you have been thinking about knocking on, or one you have been thinking about closing for good, I want you to hear this. You do not owe anyone a version of yourself that pretends the past did not happen. And you do not owe anyone another decade of your life to prove you were never the problem. Boundaries are not cruelty. Boundaries are how the people who actually love you get to keep loving you. Kyle followed us to the sidewalk. Kyle was crying and had not noticed yet. Callie, wait. I did not do anything to you. Mom did that. Mom kicked you out, not me. I was 12. Callie. Come on, Merry Christmas. Just, is there anything you can do for me? I don't have a job. My car got repoed. Mom's screwed up. Dad's not right. I'm the only one home. I've got nothing. You've clearly got... look at that SUV. You're doing fine. Come on, please. Ellen opened the driver's side door of the Explorer. She did not close it right away. She waited. I stopped on the sidewalk. I turned. I looked at Kyle. I looked at him for maybe 6 seconds. I do not think he had had a woman in his life look him full in the face for 6 seconds in years. I opened my wallet. I counted out 10 $20 bills. I held them out to him. $200, I said. Same amount I had on me when I walked out this door 10 years ago. Now you have your Xbox money. Now we are even for the Xbox. Merry Christmas, Kyle. I let go of the bills. He caught them. I said, "You can figure the rest out on your own. That is how it works." I got into the passenger seat of the SUV. Ellen closed her door. Ellen pulled away from the curb. I did not look back. We stopped at the Marathon on Route 82 at 7:15 p.m. Same station, same coffee counter, same bell over the door. Nathan and Lily's car was already in the lot. Lily was awake. She had a candy cane in her hand and pistachio ice cream on her nose. Nathan rolled his window down. "Home?" he said. I said, "Home." Ellen bought a Snickers bar. I bought a coffee. We split the Snickers on a paper towel on the dashboard. The drive back to Athens was 4 hours. Nobody put on music. There was just the sound of the tires on the salted highway, and Ellen's turn signal every few miles, and Lily humming in the other car in front of us, all the way home.